All right, let's jump straight into this explainer, breaking down the unbelievably dramatic round of 32 clash between Portugal and Croatia at the 2026 World Cup. I mean, we're looking at a matchup that felt way less like your standard bracket draw and more like, I don't know, a fan's ultimate dream scenario come to life. It's the exact kind of high-stakes fiction you'd simulate on your console, right? Except it literally played out on the actual pitch.
And honestly, the broadcast hit the nail right on the head, perfectly capturing the mood by saying, we're sailing in a bit of a football fantasy. Picture this, down by the lakeside at the Toronto Stadium, the atmosphere was absolutely electric. The stakes were historically massive, the tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife, and the setting, just picture perfect for a showdown that football fans are going to be dissecting for years to come.
So what's the core storyline here? It's the ultimate duel between two absolute generational icons, Cristiano Ronaldo and Luka Modric. This was them, squaring off at the World Cup for the very first and, let's face it, the very last time. You've got two European heavyweights, two legendary captains, and an absolute do-or-die scenario where the final whistle literally spells the end of the road for one of these guys. No pressure, right?
So let's look at how this kicked off, with Portugal applying some serious, unrelenting early pressure. The second that first whistle blew, signaling the beginning of the end for one of these legends, Portugal just completely turned up the heat. Within the opening minutes, Nuno Mendes makes this incredible run and cross that gets blocked, agonizingly denying Bruno Fernandes on a follow-up. Just moments later, Neta whips in an in-swinging cross that somehow completely evades Ronaldo in the 6-yard box. Then, late in the half, Renato Veiga gets a clean header on another brilliant Mendes cross, but he sends it right over the bar. It was just a sheer onslaught of early chances that put a massive amount of stress on the Croatian defense. But you know, despite that absolute barrage, the finishing touch just wasn't there for Portugal. Bodies were flying everywhere, volleys from guys like Fernandes were just going wild, and Veiga looked almost surprised when a golden opportunity landed right on him. And the absolute heart-stopping moment of the half? Rafael Leao getting to the ball first and unleashing this rocket to the far post, only for it to agonizingly rattle off the woodwork. Portugal was knocking so loudly on the door, but they just couldn't kick it down.
But hey, a deadlock like that can't last forever in a game this big. Eventually, the veterans were bound to break through.
And it was a very familiar Croatian face who struck the first massive blow. As the announcer pointed out, for all the talk about the big-name veterans, you absolutely cannot forget this guy delivering a massive moment. The play itself was gorgeous. Stanisic floats across to the back post, finding even Perisic. And Perisic, he just keeps his shot super tight to the ground, brilliantly slipping it right under the goalkeeper's legs. With the defender closing in fast, it was literally the only place he could put it, and he executed it to perfection.
Now, to put that into perspective, that wasn't just a great goal. That strike marked Ivan Perisic's 7th World Cup goal. 7! That is a staggering statistic that completely cements his pedigree in this tournament. When Croatia is desperate for a massive goal on the world stage, Perisic is the guy who consistently answers the call.
But hold on, because Portugal was absolutely not going down without a fight. Their answer came incredibly fast, and it all kicked off with a defensive hold in the penalty area. Right in the middle of a cross, a Croatian defender gets caught holding his opponent with both arms, which obviously triggers a massive game-altering VAR review.
Okay, let's break down how this equalizer actually unfolded. First, the ref spots that two-armed hold. Then, the official VAR review kicks in, stopping play and sending the tension in the stadium through the roof. The decision? A penalty against Croatia, facing down their goalkeeper Dominik Livakovic, who, by the way, is historically amazing at saving penalties. So who steps up? Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, how many times have we seen him in this exact spot? He makes Livakovic commit and dive early to his right, and then just calmly, coolly slots the ball right up the middle. Boom. We're tied up at 1-1.
And here's what makes that specific moment so historically massive. That high-pressure, game-time penalty was actually the very first time Cristiano Ronaldo had ever scored in the knockout stages of a World Cup. Actually, think about that for a second. For a player with his legendary resume, finally breaking that specific curse in a do-or-die game against a rival like Modric, that is just incredibly significant.
So now it's 1-1, and we are headed straight into some truly wild stoppage time drama, where things just completely unravel at the whistle. As the clock ticked right past that 90-minute mark, the broadcast started painting a pretty grim picture for Croatia. The announcer actually comes out and says that Croatian hearts were broken in those dying minutes in Toronto.
heavily implying that Portugal had just struck a fatal blow to end Luka Modric's international career.
But then, and I mean out of absolutely nowhere, the script just completely flips. A sudden ball gets lumped into the box, it drops to the back post, and bam, it looks like a goal for Croatia. The broadcast just completely erupts, shouting, "It's an equalizer! This is as wild as you can get!" After pushing and pushing, it felt like the hopes of all those Croatian fans were miraculously turning around at the very last possible second.
Right? Except, just as fast as that celebration started, the drama spiked all over again, because VAR steps back in. After taking a look, the officials ruled that Croatia's number 20 had actually touched the ball from an offside position right before it reached the goal scorer. The final verdict? Goal disallowed. Honestly, the emotional whiplash in that stadium must have been absolutely unbelievable.
Which brings us to the journey's end and a truly bittersweet reality.
And this leads us to what might literally be the most confusing, beautifully chaotic sign-off from a broadcast booth you will ever hear. We have to report the verbatim facts of this wild finish exactly as they happened in the original audio. Listen to this. The announcer declares, "Now it's over for Cristiano Ronaldo. The World Cup journey continues for Luka Modric. Portugal 2, Croatia 1. Wait, what? It's a massive contradiction. They're saying Ronaldo is eliminated and Modric advances, but in the exact same breath, they read the final score as Portugal 2, Croatia 1, which obviously means Portugal 1. Talk about chaos.
So, that leaves us with one final fascinating question. In the fog of this football fantasy, with an ending so completely frantic that even the official broadcast lost its footing, how is history actually going to unravel and record this unforgettable clash of titans? It's such a contradictory and bittersweet note to end on. We know for sure it was an epic battle of legends. We know there were crazy missed chances, incredible veteran goals, and massive VAR drama. But the ultimate untangling of those frantic final moments? Well, that's going to forever remain a wild, legendary footnote in the history of the World Cup.